Over the past month, I stayed at 8 of the top hotels in Vegas, specifically ones bookable through a certain flagship card's hotel program. Whether you're trying to use up hotel credits or you just love Vegas, this program is one of the best ways to do it. We'll look at all the hotel options and how the credits currently work. I'll also add in some pro tips while we look at each hotel, that way you can get even more value. Towards the end of each hotel, I'll give it a SEBI score and put it into a tier list. We have 8 strong contenders. The first 4 include the quiet luxury Four Seasons, the calm Waldorf Astoria, the fun Cosmopolitan, and the iconic Bellagio. The back half will have us moving up the strip to the all-suites Palazzo, the polished Wynn and Encore, the high roller Crockfords, and the brand new Fontainebleau. If you want to get more value from your credit cards, consider subscribing, but let's dive into it with the Four Seasons. This hotel is on the south end of the strip and occupies the top floors of Mandalay Bay. It also has a separate entrance and lobby, making it the go-to option for people that need to be in Vegas, but don't actually like Vegas. Think people here for conferences or other business meetings, also NBA players. Unlike a lot of other hotels, it doesn't really have a smoke smell, and especially during breakfast, you'd think you were in Beverly Hills or a fancy part of LA rather than Vegas. The disadvantage is the location. You're pretty far from anything interesting unless you like the immediate area. If you're here for the traditional Vegas experience, this is not a great choice. The rooms here are pretty solid and comfortable, if not a bit basic. It works for its intended purpose, but doesn't have the wow factor of some other options we'll look into. For context, I had to look up videos and pictures from my stay to really remember what the room looked like. It's very vanilla, but in the bad way to me. The gym here is also pretty weak compared to other hotels, and it just feels a bit too boring to me. Personally, I'd put the hard product, factoring in the room, location, and amenities, into B tier. It's fine, just not my speed. One other disadvantage is price. This leads into basic strategy number 1 of mapping out the prices. Vegas is very events and conferences driven. Something that might be sub $200 normally on a weekday will jump up during CES to maybe $1,500. The most expensive are conferences, but also expect higher prices on weekends. For smaller conferences, price jumps will be specific to the hotel or nearby ones. If you're flexible with hotels, you can almost always find a deal outside of some specific crazy periods, especially during off-season between October and March. Unlike other hotels that might have a floor price of $143 or $171, Four Seasons has a pretty high floor of $255. It's a good choice when other things are expensive, but otherwise not great for deal seekers. When booking through these portals, you also get a ton of benefits. This includes daily breakfast for 2 and credit towards eligible charges, usually $100. To me at least, this has one of the weaker set of credits. For breakfast, you only have 2 options, either the grab-and-go coffee shop or the sit-down restaurant. The breakfast restaurant is really good and tastes great, but I personally like having a bit more optionality. The property credit here is for spa only. Unlike one of the later ones, they are unwilling to swap it to dining. We don't really use the spa, so it basically ends up being unused and doesn't factor into my math. Given this, and especially with the stronger competing options in Vegas, I'd give this credit an F score. If you do spa stuff, then obviously adjust upwards. Upgrade odds here are also slim to none, at least in my experience. We'll get into this with other hotels, but there's not a strategic way to get a free suite upgrade like you can with a lot of the other hotels on the list. The soft product, so the team and experience, was solid. It was definitely the friendliest check-in team, and they treat you as humans versus other ones where you feel like cattle. They also just seem to have more soft offerings. For example, they have a pillow menu and also offer a humidifier. I'd put the soft product into S tier. This is also one of 3 hotels in Vegas that have a Michelin key, so not surprised on that front. This is a great quiet luxury pick, but not ideal if you're a deal seeker. Given what I'm looking for, I'd put this into B tier, but I could see it argued up. To put it into context, we've stayed at some of the other hotels on this list 10 plus times. We've only stayed at Four Seasons twice, and both times were primarily to do a review. Adjust as necessary for yourself, but $255 floor price, which becomes $351 with taxes and fees, minus $60 for breakfast, still puts you at about $290 net in my book, which isn't cheap, especially if you need to Uber to get to the places you're trying to visit. Side note, if you want to learn about cards that have access to these portals and you want to support the channel, we have links on the website asksebi.com and also down below in the description box. Make sure the links are competitive, but otherwise, it's a huge way to support the channel, so thank you in advance. Moving up the strip, we have the Waldorf Astoria. This hotel is centrally located and puts you right next to Aria and across from Crystal's Mall. Unlike other options nearby though, this is a calmer choice since it's not actually a casino. Even though you're near the fun and party scene, you can step away into your own little oasis. The rooms here are solid but disappointing given the brand name. For example, I don't think the Beverly Hills Waldorf would have dusty drawers or broken elements in the room. With that said, it's still not bad and one of the most comfortable beds on the strip. The gym here is on the smaller end, but modern and nice. The pools here are great if you're looking for a relaxed experience with less people. The bar upstairs is also pretty fun and offers great views of the strip. Overall, I give the hard product an A. Credits here are a bit tougher. You have one main restaurant on property for breakfast and a quick grab option. For the dining credit, you just don't have many choices. Another factor is the price, which feels inflated, even relative to other Vegas options. I have heard great things about Peacock Alley and the bar is nice though, so I'd probably put it into B tier. Like the Four Seasons, Waldorf has a pretty high floor price of about $233, even when it's not busy. Upgrades here are also tough given how the room types are structured and general demand compared to the mega hotels. It's possible to get suite upgrades if the stars align and the mid options are sold out, but just a lot tougher. Maybe not fair, but this leads into the soft product, where it just feels very much like they're revenue focused. I'm not sure if it's a commission thing, but the check-in team aggressively tries to upsell you on suites, even if you have diamond status. This also doesn't seem to be an isolated thing. Just expect the upsell. Outside of that though, generally friendly staff, and I'd give it a B. Another thing to note is that even with diamond status, they're not really comfortable giving you late checkout beyond maybe noon or 1 p.m. if you're lucky. That's if you're booking directly with them or using points or free night rewards. Basic strategy number 2 is that some of these VIP portals actually have guaranteed perks like 4 p.m. late checkout. We'll get into hotel hopping later on, but guaranteed 4 p.m. included is amazing in a town where it might be either impossible or they want to charge an arm and a leg for it. I'm probably going to make enemies with my rating here, especially given the critic reviews. So this is another Michelin Key hotel and the best city hotel in the US for 2025, so generally well regarded. For the purpose of this video relative to the other options, and also considering the credits, I'd put it into B tier. I could see the case for S tier if you need a convenient spot and hate the casino vibes, but just weaker credits to me. 230 something base, which is 331 all in minus 60 for breakfast, and 100 for property, is 171 net before potentially discounting credits. Moving across the street, we have the Cosmo. This hotel is center strip and part of the fun trifecta that includes Aria and Bellagio. This is very much a Vegas pick with younger and rowdier crowds and just a lot of people. It's also darker and moodier vibe-wise like a nightclub. Basic strategy number 3, if you have Bonvoy Platinum status, let's say from a credit card, they have a separate check-in area on the side. There's free water and coffee and snacks. There can still be a line, but in my experience, just friendlier staff. This is also one of my favorite hotels given the upgrade odds. This brings us to basic strategy number 4, and it's that these VIP booking portals include room upgrades on arrival when available. So the base room might be 128, which is the city room. One level up, at least on our dates, is the terrace 1-bedroom suite that normally runs 70 more on weekdays. So you can book a basic standard room, and with the included upgrade, you can get a suite. Of course, it depends on occupancy and if the mid-level rooms are sold out, so you always want to take a quick look before booking, but we've been able to do this pretty consistently on our stays. To the point that I don't think we've ever stayed in a standard-based Cosmo room ever on any of our stays. This is a stark contrast with other hotels like Four Seasons, where the base might be a superior room. An upgrade from there might be stadium view, next level is strip view, then a studio with sofa bed, and then finally the suite from there. In that situation, you'd need to pay almost $1,000 for that one level upgrade to be a suite. Back to Cosmo, the rooms here are pretty solid, comfortable beds, great sofas, and haven't really had a bad time at all. There is some wear and tear, but the affordable prices, upgrades to large rooms, and also features like giant soak tubs makes it hard to complain. There's 2 gyms depending on which tower you're in, new equipment and pretty good views, and doesn't feel depressing. If you're introverted, Cosmo can be a bit draining, at least that's what I've noticed for myself. For example, for Palazzo or Crockfords, I feel like I could stay a week and still be happy. With Cosmo, I feel burnt out after 2 days. I'd still put the hard product into A or S tier and leaning towards S. The food credit here is also pretty amazing. You have a ton of good choices that work for breakfast. Same thing with the dining credit, it pretty much works on all the restaurants on property outside of a few flagship ones, but still a lot of good options. One thing I love about the credit here is that there's a big range. You can obviously go super expensive, but you can also get fast food for cheap, especially relative to San Francisco prices. $15 range for a good chicken sandwich and fries is a steal in Vegas, especially when it's delicious. I'd put the food credit in S tier as well, just given the range and legitimately good food options. The soft product was solid and the front desk was very friendly and proactively looked for an upgrade, which is always a big win. I'd put the soft product into A+ or S-. This is a solid S tier pick and one I'd happily recommend and looking forward to going back to. 128 base ends up at 207, minus 100 food, minus 60 breakfast, is 47 net before discounting. Next up, we have the iconic Bellagio. This is what I'd consider to be the center of the strip, given the fountains and how it's a go-to spot for meeting up with people. If you have Bonvoy Platinum status, note that there's a sideline on the right. This is a great way to skip the line, especially since it can get hectic. The Bellagio is another property where you can land suite upgrades, but it's less reliable compared to Cosmo. Generally though, if you book a base room, I'd only expect a fountain-facing room. Even with a smaller room, something about getting that fountain view from up top is always nice. To me, this is the most iconic shot of Vegas out there. Outside of the fountain, Bellagio also has one of the most iconic displays with the conservatory. Basic strategy number 5, go to this either late night or early in the morning if you want to avoid the crowds. If you're a night owl, this is usually empty at 2 or 3 in the morning, and also one of the reasons I like Vegas, since you can walk around at random times of the night and no one's batting an eye. It's also pretty chill at 5 AM, so worth checking out for the morning crowd. I'd give the hard product an A. Rooms are okay, but hard to beat the views and amenities. The food credit here is pretty awesome. Pretty much any MGM restaurant, if not all MGM restaurants, work. It doesn't even have to just be at Bellagio, it can be under any MGM hotel. In my book, this is easily S+, and we've used it at a ton of different options, including the new Carbone Riviera. The breakfast credit is pretty broad as well, and we used it at Spago. The soft product is where it gets a bit tough. Bellagio very much feels like a machine. For all of these places, you're just a number, but sometimes at Bellagio, they make that pretty obvious. Also, unlike other hotels, there's clearly a hierarchy of gamblers first, then Bonvoy status, and then everyone else. Which makes sense given how they make money, but I feel like other places are just a bit more gentle with it. Still friendly staff overall though, and it's not bad at all. I'd probably put the soft product into B+, and overall rating would be A tier. 119 here becomes 198 with taxes and fees, minus 100, minus 60 is 38 net before discounting. Moving up a few hotels, we have the Venetian. For our purpose, we're looking at the Palazzo Tower within the Venetian, their luxury all-suite option. The rooms can definitely look a bit tired, but still not bad at all and super sizable. Mandy tends to sleep a lot earlier than me while I like working at night, so having a separate part of the room where I can vibe and work is always appreciated. The property itself is also massive and our favorite walks. It's Italian themed and works well. The other hotels are great walks for their attractions or to people watch. This is a great walk in and of itself. Looking at amenities, there's also a ton of pool options and a quiet one by Bouchon, which is relaxing. But yeah, large rooms plus my favorite walking property puts the hard product into S tier for me. Downstairs, Palazzo has its own check-in area, and if you're booking through a VIP portal, you can use the line on the left side. There's only 2 or 3 agents working, so that can be a bottleneck, but generally super fast. This is one of our go-to properties, and we've never had a bad experience. They're also really great with early check-ins as well, and just been really accommodating on that front. We've gotten a mix of rooms here from the standard ones to super suites, including one with a fitness machine in it, a pretty long one on the pool floor, and a triangle style one that was very roomy. I'd say soft product is S- or A+, but leaning towards S. Credits are also pretty awesome. You have a ton of great options for the general food credit, from upscale like Mott 32 to affordable like Miznon. The latter being one I randomly crave when I'm home, so I think that says a lot. The breakfast credit is a bit tougher since you just have less options. You do have Bouchon though, which is amazing, but also depends on when they're open. I'd put the credits here, at least how they're currently designed, into A tier. Know that they can and do change, and it feels like it's more frequent than some other hotels on the list. I wish there were more breakfast options, but otherwise it's solid. Value here is also pretty awesome. Floor price is about $127, and after taxes and resort fees, you're at $206. Subtract $100 for dining and $60 for breakfast, and you're at $47 net before discounting, which is great value. Basic strategy number 6, some of these hotels are a lot cheaper last minute. If you're flexible on booking, that's what I'd recommend doing. Palazzo is $215 for next week, which is kind of the dates I'm working against for all the other hotels. For tonight and tomorrow night though, it's $127. I find that other properties will discount a week or 2 out if they are forecasting lower demand, but Palazzo is more last minute. Across the street, we have Fashion Show Mall and also Wynn. Wynn is another fan favorite, but one that I've historically been iffy on, mostly due to smaller base rooms, as well as the credit. I'm not sure if this is a recent trend, but looks like you can actually book Encore for the same price now. So for example, both Wynn and Encore are $171 base here. Encore is their all-suites luxury side that's a lot calmer than the Wynn side. The rooms are pretty nice and super sizable. It feels like a newer version of Palazzo that's a lot brighter and less old. Also a very comfortable bed and no complaints at all. Compared to Wynn proper, Encore rooms are miles ahead. The property also has a ton of pools and gyms, so you're covered there. There's also a lot of fancy stores if you like shopping. I think we still like the crystals a bit more, but this is not bad at all even if you're just window shopping. Overall, I'd give Encore's hard product an S and Wynn probably a A. Soft product here is exceptional. Super friendly check-in team, and they're happy with letting you do early check-ins. If you're a hotel guest, you can also skip the line at the buffet at Wynn, which is a great value add since that's our favorite buffet on the Strip. Otherwise, lines can easily be 1 to 3 hours long, especially during holidays. I'd put the soft product into S tier. The credit is a bit weird, so technically it's a spa credit and not dining. This year, they've been letting people transfer the spa credit to dining, which is a game changer for us. Basic strategy number 7, ask to switch the credit here. For dining, you have a ton of options, pretty much everything at the moment. Overall, if the property credit can continue to be converted to food, then the credit here is A tier. If not, I'd probably put it into D tier, since we normally don't do spa treatments. It is a bit higher than Four Seasons though, since there are cheaper treatments, and you can also buy spa passes. Encore I'd put into S tier with food, and B with spa. Wynn I'd put into A and C tiers respectively. Lowest base rate is $171, and with taxes and resort fees, $257. Minus $100 for food and $60 for breakfast, you have $97 net. One hotel up is Resorts World, which is about a 5-minute walk away. A lot of people consider Resorts World too far, but if we're staying upper strip, this is part of our diamond-shaped walk anyways. Within Resorts World, you have 3 levels, bottom is Hilton, middle is Conrad, and top tier is Crockfords. Crockfords is pretty fancy and also connected to the high roller section, if that's your jam. The standard rooms here are pretty solid, and they also include Therabodies, which are great post-workout or walking. Upgrade odds here are also pretty easy. So the superior room might run $290, and that's whether you pick City View or Strip View. Strip View is considered an upgrade though, so you want to pick that so that your upgrade isn't in the same room category type. The next level up is the 2 queen bed, which doesn't really count as an upgrade for king bed setups, and the next level is a 1-bedroom suite at Crockfords West. So very easy to get an upgrade here if you think through your booking. The suites here are very sizable and nice, and one of our favorite hotels on the Strip. Large rooms, comfy, great features, and just great experience overall. Strong standard rooms and easy upgrade odds puts this into S tier. I would say probably 2/3 of our stays, we get upgraded to suites by booking strategically. The soft product here we found to be really good, no issues in our experience as long as you have reasonable expectations. I do think they aggressively prioritize VIP portals over direct bookings though, so just something to be aware of. I'd put the soft product into S tier. The dining credit here is good, and we've been going to Gentling Palace more than I'd like to admit since we like their buffet. Their breakfast credit is really annoying though, since there's been only 2 options that have worked, at least from our recent stays. One of them sucks and the other is fine, but just gets a bit boring. Overall, I'd still put the credits here into A tier. We haven't been rating value, but that's where this property struggles compared to some of the other S tier ones. The base rates are just a bit more expensive, usually $243 is a good deal. The lowest we've seen is $228 as a base. With taxes and fees, it was $321. Minus 60 breakfast and 100 dining is still $161 net. We still go to it a decent amount, but usually when other options are also pricey during that period. Overall, I'd still give it an S tier rating on the merits we're looking at. If you're looking for amazing vibes at the casino, this is probably not the right hotel since there's just less people. Case in point, there's a poker room downstairs, but it went from being pretty fun a few years ago to just depressing this year. I've opted to walk to the updated room at Palazzo since that's just better vibes, and also because they run PLO. The last up is Fontainebleau. This is the newest mega resort on the Strip and still has a very shiny gleam on everything. Location-wise, it's 2 hotels up with Circus between them. Even though I don't mind walking, it's just not a good walk. For most of the Strip, I feel very comfortable walking around at night since it's decently lit up and also busy with people. This part is just less lit up and doesn't feel as safe. We've done it, but it very much feels like you're leaving and entering the Strip versus being on it. The property itself though is super nice, high ceilings, lots of restaurants, and not smoky. Definitely a bit less busy than other options, but not necessarily a bad thing. The rooms themselves are fine and comfortable, but there's not really any upgrade strategies here. The main reason being that they have a lot of room categories and not enough demand to fill them, such that the middle batch are all full like with, let's say, the Bellagio. I actually ended up mapping out all the options on the portal since I was personally curious. In order to do our suite strategy, you need to pay $402. To get upgraded to the Royal Suite, that would be $409, which means you might as well book directly into it. Otherwise, there's a long way to work up from the base room. I think the hard product is still A tier since it's pretty nice overall. The soft product is a bit iffy for me. One thing we usually test is early check-in, and this is one of the hotels that aggressively tried to upsell that benefit. I get it, it's business, but if occupancy is low anyways, it just feels like a weird move. Otherwise, people seemed fine and generally nice. Probably B+ or A-, let's call it A. The dining credit was super easy to use and lots of options. Breakfast was more limited, but it's a good option with a lot of food choices, so that's nice. I'd give credits an A. One big draw of the property is the price. There definitely are periods where it's higher, especially when there's events at the convention center. Outside of that though, the base price has been $150, which is awesome. You are trading shiny and new for location though, so keep that in mind. Overall, I would put this into A tier, but very much depends on what you're optimizing for. If we map out all the options, looking at floor price, factoring in resort fees and taxes, you're looking at $198 to $351. If you use all the credits, then the net ranges from $38 to $191. If you ignore spa ones though, then Four Seasons jumps up to $291 net and Wynn potentially $197 net. This is also before discounting, especially if you wouldn't otherwise eat. I guess it's not a surprise that Cosmo, Bellagio, and Palazzo are our go-tos. Again, if you want to learn about cards that have access to these VIP booking portals, we have links on the website asksebi.com and down below in the description box. If you want to run the numbers for the card, search card name worth it Ask Sebi on Google, and I'll also link it below. Even before the hotel credit, this was one of my favorite features of this card. If you made it to this point, leave a Joker card emoji in the comments down below and I'll try to heart it and respond. 3 questions. Number 1, what's your go-to Vegas hotel? How would you rate them all based off your experience? Are there any that surprised you? Let me know and everyone else know in the comments down below.